All right, everybody, this is Nash here, and I thank you for tuning in today. Now, we're going to be talking about a Texas Longhorn position group that really has been lackluster, and when I mean lackluster, I say that in the nicest way possible. We just haven't been able to hang our hat on this position group probably since 2008 2009. Now, some of you might know what I'm already talking about, but this is going to be the offensive line. And in today's video, we're going to look at that. We're going to look at some statistics that show how bad the offensive line has been since 2014. The statistics don't go before that. And then we're also going to look at some of the press conferences from Kyle Flood and Christian Jones recently. And we're going to answer the question, will Texas have a top 5 offensive line this year? And it's been a long time coming. So, without further ado, let's hop right into the video. If you like the video, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then comment down below your thoughts on the video. And yeah, like I said, without further ado, let's start right off with it. And we'll start off with Coach Flood's comments, going to Christian Jones, and then we'll look at those statistics I was talking about. And before we do that, I want to shout out, got Kelvin Banks, Outland Trophy winner, or Outland Trophy, not winner, award watch list. So, watching to see if he becomes a winner. I honestly, I'd have to go back and look. I can't remember the last time we've had a guy like that. Maybe not Cam Williams. Maybe Connor Williams had it. We'll see. I'll have to go back and look at that. Give you all that on Twitter. But, so, Coach Flood, what did he talk about today? Not today, but recently. He talked about, there were the other things that stood out to me. 8 startable offensive linemen that can win major college football games. Keyword is major college football games. Now, those names, I would have them as Kelvin Banks, Hayden Connor, Jake Majors, Cole Hudson, Christian Jones, Nito Umezulu, DJ Campbell, and Cam Williams. Okay? And then I could even see some of these names coming up and being added into that 8, which if you were to ask Kyle Flood, he said this, yes, he'd like to get to 10, but 8 is among the most he's ever had that he feels that, he's confident at this level. But watch out for names like Connor Robertson, Andre Coho, and Peyton Kirkland. Peyton Kirkland, young guy, but his body's there. That's the one thing that everybody says about Peyton Kirkland, PK. The body is ready for college football, day one. Now, another thing that really jumps off the page when you talk about Kyle Flood is he's worked with Coach Steve Sarkisian since the year 2017. 2017 Atlanta Falcons, 2018 Atlanta Falcons, 2019 Alabama, 2020 Alabama, 2021, and you know the rest. So, there's consistency with this, and they've consistently been with each other every step of the way the last 6-7 years. So there is some familiarity when you talk about not even the offensive line, but the coaching staff. And then to piggyback off that familiarity, I mean, we're getting all starters back. And that's going to be massive when you talk about not only on the familiarity front, but the ability to communicate between offensive linemen. Like that's huge. I honestly, outside of Christian Jones, I don't think I've seen a single person talk about that. And that is going to be a massive point for this Texas Longhorn football team, especially the offensive line, to see if they can go and win that Joe Moore Award, which if you heard Christian Jones' press conference, that's the offensive line's goal. And then to speak on Kyle Flood, Christian Jones says it was his idea to go put it up there and go put the goal up there saying, hey, this is what the Joe Moore Award is looking for. And what is the Joe Moore Award? What does a Joe Moore award? It awards the most physically imposing offensive line in the country. And Texas could very well have that. I mean, we got some big dudes. We got some bodies. And of the guys that aren't big dudes and bodies, there are going to be big dudes and bodies pushing for their jobs. So, and that's another thing that PK said, or not PK, Coach Flood said. There's competition everywhere on this roster, especially when you're talking about the offensive line position. Look, Kelvin Banks, yes, his job is safe. Okay, his job is safe. I'd say Connor's job is safe. Christian Jones, even maybe. But I could see a situation where, again, to go and talk about the versatility that Coach Flood likes out of the offensive line that he has, you can move some of these guys around. You might be able to move a Christian Jones down to slide him into the guard if Cam Williams is just absolutely balling out. Who knows? So we'll see. Versatility. But what's going to get a guy on the field in the starting position for Coach Flood, that's going to be the consistency. He values consistency over a guy flashing. Now, a guy might flash and he might be better. You know, his ceiling might be better. What he's showing, his ceiling out in practices, he's making better plays than the other guy. But player B over here, he's just consistent. You know what you're getting out of him. Coach Flood's going to choose that. Now, by far one of the coolest things for this Texas offensive line that could lead to success is the addition of Paul Chryst. Having him to help game plan against opposing teams. And it's not just Paul Chryst, it's the fact that, and this is the thing that matters the most, is Coach Flood talked about it. He shares the same core values as the Texas staff. He shares the values that Steve Sarkisian and Kyle Flood do in the run game. It may have been implemented differently at Wisconsin, but deep down, the core values are all the same. And that's going to be huge for the Texas Longhorns offense this year. Absolutely. Now, moving on to what Christian Jones had said, I already talked about the communication, the familiarity with getting all the stars back. And we got all stars back. This is the first time that Kyle Flood has had all stars back. And you can count Cole Hudson and DJ Campbell, so that's technically 6 stars that he's had. But Christian Jones, the thing that he talks about is it takes time to master Sark's offense. And the key word there is master, like to really nail it and get it down and have it 100%. That's going to take some time. The thing that I'm loving to see here and hear this is people are staying late and working. They're hungry, you know. They're staying after practice. They're getting the work done. And really, it's when you have guys putting in the extra work and your best guys are putting in the extra work that it leads to the younger guy, not the younger guys. Yeah, the younger guys. The backups. This is how culture is built. And a lot of people, they like to give Matt Campbell a lot of crap for that 5-star culture. 5-star culture or 5-star talent. Well, Steve Sarkisian basically confirmed that. He said, hey, culture beats talent every time. Now, when you combine culture and talent, and it doesn't beat it every time, but when you combine culture and talent, that's when you can get a really scary team and a dangerous team. So, those are some of the things that I like to hear from the press conferences that were said. And by far, I think the ones that stand out the most to me are the 8 startable offensive linemen. Consistency over flashes. Time to master Sark's offense. And then communication with familiarity all starts back. Those are the things that matter. Those are the things that really, when I'm talking about the things that they said, those keep replaying in my head. All right, so now that we've gone over the press conferences of Kyle Flood and Christian Jones, now let's go into the statistics of the Texas Longhorn football team from 2014 to 2022. Now, it does not go before 2014. And then we also have Kyle Flood stats. But before we do that, let's give you some of the definitions of some of this stuff. Now, these are the numbers right here. It's going to go left to right on the chart that you'll see. And here, let me show you real quick so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. You see this one right here. That's number 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. So you can pause, rewind, and kind of get an idea of where these what number is what stat line and what not, all that. But line yards per carry. I'm not going to read all this stuff off, but basically what you need to know just generally, and you can pause this and really take a look at it. Also, the 2nd and 8 or more on the, down over here. Boop, boop. You see my finger? Hey, over here. 2nd or 8 or more, 3rd and 5 or more, 4th and 5 or more. That is what they call a passing down, okay? So anything other than that is a standard down pass attempt or standard down rush attempt, but that is what they define as a passing down. So I just want to give you all the definitions, but generally what you need to know, 1 through 6 is rushing, and 7 through 9 is passing. Wrong stat. Okay, so you can see the rushing categories. I mean, it is clear that not only, one, the offensive line starts to get better in 2018. From 2014 to 2017, it was just bad. Atrocious. Like, there's no other way to put it. Especially in the passing categories. I mean, you look at 2015. That was an atrocious offense as far as offensive line and passing the football. And it really, that was a big issue for the University of Texas. And really all those years. I mean, you see, up until last year, we really have not had any sort of respectable passing offensive line whatsoever. And, I mean, generally, you do see improvement with the passing stats, and you see a lot of improvement with the rushing statistics. But it specifically gets better when Kyle Flood gets in, and Kyle Flood joins the program. Now, the interesting thing is, there are linemen on the 2021 roster that probably could have been on the 2023 Texas roster. They ended up going elsewhere. Angulau, Carrick. So now we did have guys like we did have a Derek Kerstetter in 2021, but I think we're actually improving over what we had before. And here's the other thing that really stands out to me when I'm looking at this stat line. 2019, it looks great. Okay? Rushing, blocking looks great. But I remember it was scary. And I'm not talking about the rush blocking. The Texas offensive line was so thin under Tom Herman, and really before that, but specifically under Tom Herman, I remember it was every year, we need to land this grad transfer, and if we don't, we're in trouble. Like, we need to get a 5th offensive lineman or we're in trouble. And here we are, we're talking about having 8 startable offensive linemen now, possibly more. I mean, if you go by the list that I gave you earlier, potentially up to 11 at the end of the year. So, Kyle Flood, he's doing the dang thing with this roster. And it shows. He has the statistics, the same statistics I was mentioning up there. He shows. Now, at Rutgers, you cannot completely say the offensive line growth was on him, whatever. But at the end of the day, he's an offensive line coach. He was a head coach. And the offensive line improved under him as a head coach. I mean, there's not much of a coincidence there. But, I mean, you see good, like legit improvement almost completely across the board at Rutgers in the 2015 season from the 2014 season. He goes to Alabama. Now, I know Alabama. Look, hey, Alabama, they were already good. They had legit first-round guys. There's not much. I don't want to say anything wrong here, but it can kind of almost take away from how impressive the coaching job was for Kyle Flood. Just due to the talent that they had, whether that's right or wrong. But at the end of the day, Kyle Flood has seen when he gets the good bodies, when he gets the big bodies, he puts out a top 25 offensive line. And in a lot of these categories, I mean, if you're looking at the Alabama and Texas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, I think. I mean, Kyle Flood, and I think if I counted it earlier too, that's the same amount of number offensive top 20 offensive line statistics that we had for Texas. I mean, you can pause it right there, like before Kyle Flood came. Like, it's Kyle Flood. We've seen the offensive line get better under Kyle Flood, and not only better, but you look at it, the passing category. This is the one that stands out the most. I mean, we finally, like I said, have a respectable pass blocking offensive line this last year. And to think that there's a chance that they improve upon what they did last year, which, I mean, that's just natural. We're getting not only all 5 starters back, all 6 if you consider Cole Hudson and DJ Campbell started at right guard, like I said earlier. If you just naturally assume, hey, these guys are going to take another step forward, whether it's small, whether it's big, whatever it is, another step forward, that's a very positive sign for this Texas Longhorn football team. And especially when you talk about the run blocking and what's been missing is the pass blocking. And that's going to be a massive deal for if Texas is going to hit some of these deep shots. And then also take advantage of these NFL wide receivers that we have sitting on our roster. So, to answer the question, will Texas have a top 5 offensive line this year? I think yes, absolutely. I think that this is going to be a massive year for this offensive line. They're physical. There are some massive, big bodies. And here, wait one second. CJ Vogel had a tweet. I want to read it to y'all because this goes to show how massive our bodies are on the offensive line. Yeah, so I talked about how Peyton Kirkland was ready day one. College, get this. This is wild. And this is from CJ Vogel from Texas Football Brainiacs. So go follow him, CJ Vogel _TFB on Twitter. Texas second-team offensive tackle duo of Cam Williams and Peyton Kirkland eclipses 715 pounds, which that is heavier than 95% of 95% of offensive tackle tandems in college football in 2023. We got some massive beef. I mean, you want to talk about Bevo? We're keeping it on brand. We got the beef. Yeah, this is top 5 offensive line, and maybe, just maybe, because if you look at what the Joe Moore Award wants to award, the most physically imposing offensive line in the country, I think that there's a chance that Texas has an ability to put that out in 2023. So, the Kool-Aid doesn't stop here, and yeah, you know what's coming next. Hook 'em!